recording is on and we're about to go live, pressing the live button. Oh, hang on, just add a title.
Bush Chook and something.
Earth Power Couple and the Bush Chook. All right, we are going live now with our live video. That's better. Right. And we're live. Welcome, Shinno. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, mate. How are you going?
I'm fantastic, mate. We're a little slow here, but on the uptake, but all good. That's a bit better. I can see you going in a bit more real time. So, mate, how are you today?
I'm feeling quite luscious this evening with my lovely locks.
Mate, you've maybe it won't happen overnight. So I guess what's happened here is that given that I've sort of rained on your or muscled in on your territory a little bit by attempting to grow a beard, you've now clearly gone and decided to grow some hair.
It's clearly a case of one-upmanship.
Right. So you have multi-man upped me on that because I cannot compete with those lustrous locks, and I can't imagine what the hair care regime is.
No, the ultimate neck warmer on these cool winter evenings.
You remind me of a mate I know, a bloke we used to know that we haven't seen for ages, Community Kev.
Yes. Well, maybe we can interview him one night.
I reckon, any truth in the rumour that he won't appear on the same bill as you? Is that any truth in that?
Yeah, look, we had a bit of a falling out a number of years ago, me and Kev. So, sadly, there is some truth to that.
Right. So if he's going to appear on the show, it might mean that you get a night off. Is that, or at least right? Well, we'll tee that up. Community Kev, if you're out there, we're coming to talk to you. He would
have enjoyed the Emu Exports.
Well, here we are.
To talk about that, aren't we?
When we ask the segment, when we ask the question, what are you drinking tonight? We've gone. We joked about it. I think I said it in jest. It doesn't actually matter. We're drinking it. The Bush.
Well, what do they say? No truer word has been said than a word said in jest.
Exactly right. We're
not only that, we've gone the King Brown.
You've gone the King Brown. I've gone the cans. I got to tell you.
It'll be interesting to see whether it tastes different. We should have done a taste test between the tin and the bottle.
I don't know that I want to be going down that harder line in terms of quality control. But I have to tell you, I was lucky because last week on the show I mentioned this, or we mentioned that we were going to be drinking Bush Chook. And when I saw my mate Pete Hardy on Thursday night, he said, I should have brought you some cans. I had some left over from Lockie's 21st. Well, it turns out he's got plenty left over. And so I do thank him for, being a nice guy and giving me one can, and being an even nicer guy and giving me 2 cans, and being an even nicer still guy and not giving me 3 cans.
Yes. Yeah, there's a limit.
I felt he just he Goldilocks it for me.
He hit the sweet spot.
Yes, because I think 3 would have been too many. Early thoughts on it, mate? Have you?
Look, I haven't had a sip. I haven't had a sip yet. I've held back. So look, I think this is the first time I've had an emu. I reckon I was trying to think the last time I had one, and I can't quite recall. I dare say it would have been at a happy hour in a pub somewhere. Many years ago. So I think really if it comes to the emu beers, I was quite fond of the emu bitter, I must say.
The good part about emu bitter, and this is an absolute trick for the kids really, is and less hard to do these days or whatever, but it was great to take to a party because you could guarantee you were the only bloke drinking it. Plenty of people just didn't like it, so no one was going to nick your brew there. And if you were in danger of having a beer nicked, well, you could easily peg the culprit, because you were the only one at the party generally with Emu Bitter. So, yeah, I agree. I didn't mind that at all. But my last experience with export was only about 18 months ago, and I had a few cans then, and it wasn't too offensive. But I do have a theory that they've sweetened it up.
Yes, look, look. You may well be right. That's a really. I will touch more on this as we go. But look, I'm quite prepared for tonight to be an unbiased review. I mean, obviously there is a fair bit of stigma around the Emu Export beer and the brand and what it represents. But look, I think if we put all that aside, as you can clearly see, I've done this evening, we'll give it a little bit of time and we'll reassess at the end of the show. But mate, cheers to you. Yeah, cheers to you, mate.
I've kept it in the can because I didn't want to wash a glass. But I will say this. There's a bit of stigma amongst blokes our age about it because we perhaps come up on it a little bit and maybe just slightly younger than us. But having been to Lockie's 21st just recently, a lot of the kids are drinking it, mate. So it's kind of come round again. So not sure
mate,
what...
Look, this is something. I just saw that. Can you see that? There. 99% sugar-free.
Oh, yes. Well, how do they do that?
That's unusual, to say the least.
Yeah, come back to the homebrew. You had to put a teaspoon of sugar into
I never saw the Emu Export crowd as potentially conscious of carrying an extra kilo or two. But anyway, shall we move on and introduce?
Move on. Why don't we invite our guests in? So, do you want to tell us about our guests tonight while I bring them in, mate?
Absolutely. Look, this evening we've got well-known sort of Perth. What should we call them? Park running royalty.
Perth Running Power couple.
Yes. So Simon and Kat, who were recently married, I believe, earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year.
February.
But so a wonderful, wonderful couple. So they've joined us this evening. I must admit, I do feel a little bit guilty. Only a little bit guilty because we did fail, I wouldn't really fail. They didn't read the fine print, and Simon and Kat believe they had the opportunity to sample one of their new fine craft beers this evening. But once we signed them up for the show and we negotiated the contract, it was too late to turn back, and they will also be sampling an Emu Export with us this evening.
So let's bring them in. Here they come. Oh, hopefully here they come. Where are we? The audio is connecting. That's the bit we want to see. Connecting to audio. We don't have any video yet, but Katrina, you there? Kat?
Well, while we try and hook them up, mate, I'll go on and talk a little bit about what we discussed around Emu Export.
Absolutely. Yeah, why don't you tell the story there while we've got Katrina coming in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, it was quite interesting, particularly on the back of our recent chats around adoption. I sort of discovered a little bit more information over the last couple of days with my biological grandfather. Now, I learned that he and his older brother Reg were both brewers, keen brewers and career brewers. So they both brewed their entire working lives. So both Peter and Reg brewed up in Kalgoorlie for a number of years. So this was back in the mid-40s, prior to the war. Here we go. We'll continue on this story. Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you. It's finally caught up. We're just using Kat's work computer, so it's just started working.
Right, beautiful.
Wonderful. How are you both?
Hello, hello. Good, good.
Good.
I must say, you're both looking resplendent in your flannel.
I'm wearing my flannelette shirt and I'm wearing tracky dacks as well, so you'd be proud.
Well, me too. Look, have you got moccasins? Have you got moccasins on as well?
No, barefoot. I just got back from a run like 25 minutes ago, so I was quickly shower and get changed and jump on.
Shinno, why is everyone wearing flannel shirts, mate?
Clearly, yet again,
You get the memo.
not that I've been counting, but this is the fourth time that you've decided to go against the grain. It was clearly in the memo. Everybody else is.
I saw your memo. It said wear a bat shirt, didn't it?
It said wear a flannel shirt if you have one.
Flannel. No, I don't recall seeing that. I do recall someone wearing a bat shirt, which I have. I do have tracky on though, but you're not going to see it.
Yeah, we're on to you, Bish. But anyway, so how have you both been?
Good.
Excellent. I can see.
I just finished work. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing better than coming home and unwinding with a cold glass of Emu Export Cat.
Now, have you got your export?
I actually do.
Cat's got a little glass which is drinking, very disgusted look on her face, and I'm drinking out of the long.
Cat's drinking it out of a shot glass.
We will rate it later, but how's the taste?
The first sip I had, I was like, oh, this reminds me of the beer I used to drink in the shower when I was on site.
You know what? I've got to say, the first couple of sips, because I haven't had a lager for a long time.
No, I don't really drink lager.
But to be honest with you, it's not as offensive as I thought it was going to be.
That's what I was thinking. And especially I just got back from a run, so my first drink after a run, anything's very refreshing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Cat's just very disgusted look on her face.
You'll come round, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry, Shinno was telling us about his grandfather.
Yeah, look, I'll continue on. I'll keep this short, but I've done a little bit of research over the last few days off the back of our recent chats around adoption, and it was discovered that my biological grandfather was the head brewer at Swan Brewery and Emu Brewery for many, many years, along with his brother Reg, and they set up brewing up in Kalgoorlie, Darwin, and Merredin as well. And he was there in Perth at the time when they launched Bush Chook. So he may well be responsible, but we have yet to finalise this. So, and we don't know whether to celebrate that as a success or
what year was that?
Well, it was 1954 that it was first launched. Yeah. So,
is there an apology pending there?
Yes. So we'll see. Watch this space. More information to come anyway. So, but let's leave that for the time being, guys. We'll get to a couple of little questions. So, the first one being, you guys can answer this together, or you can answer it separately. There's no rules on our show. But what gets your goat? Has anything gotten your goats lately?
What gets my goat? You want to go first, Kat?
No, we're a bit different.
Yeah, Kat's very different.
Yeah.
I'm going to adjust mine briefly, but we'll stick with my original one. And what gets my goat is people that are just in their own little bubble and don't acknowledge or care about anything going on around them, whether that be on the path or on the road or in the shopping centre. People that are just in their own little world and they don't care about anyone else, so they just get in everyone's way. Don't keep left. That's what gets my goat.
Absolutely. Look, this may well have been one of the most common ones we've had, I think, so far. And I think it's a real issue in society. I think I might have raised it once as well. It absolutely gets my goat. People are just inconsiderate socially and a real lack of awareness.
Yeah.
I think the common theme for a lot of it is people, in general.
Yeah. Just avoid people and we'll all be fine.
Yeah, just people in general, I think.
No,
okay, we solved that.
When we went to Germany, though, we loved it because everything was so orderly there.
Oh, really?
The Germans, very efficient, keep left, very organised.
But traffic where you walked on the path, and I think somewhere in Japan they have, isn't there this like a painted line on the road And so you can keep looking at your mobile phone, but also follow the line. So that
Is that right?
No.
That's insane.
That's probably needed. But if you were to paint the lines based on how people walk around here, it'd just look like spaghetti on the bar.
Just accelerate, stop, turn,
Yeah.
stop, keep looking.
Stop
Okay.
all of a sudden, run into the back of somebody. So, Kat, did you have something that got your goat?
Mine's like, well, aside from the big ones, so being homophobic, sexist, or racist.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Common like bit that makes my skin crawl is and a bit a lighter note is hearing chewing of food. Even
Yes.
with me, I don't like hearing myself eating, other people eating, so I have to have the radio on, the TV on. Don't even like the like just no, don't like any of it.
Having a cup of tea.
Oh,
Slurping? Yeah.
the sipper is a bit much.
And in the cinema, like when it's super quiet as well. And yeah, if Simon had nachos.
Yeah, we went and saw that movie Gravity, which is just very silent throughout the whole thing. And we went to class and we got a plate of nachos, and then it's like, wait for a noisy bit, eat.
Wait for the explosion so you can just start chewing.
Yeah, absolutely. You just eat the whole lot at once. Yeah, I absolutely get that. Absolutely get that as well. But what about you, Bish? What's got your go this week?
Mate, you will soon be able to relate to this, I think, because you're following a football team that is starting to win, and this is a really shitty one, I guess, but you get on Facebook after, and there's the match report from the club, that they share, and people will sit around. So just to give it some context, the Eagles won on the weekend. Yay, great. Right, expected to, blah, blah, blah. Won by about 30-odd points. And people are getting on there and going, oh, well, if this umpire hadn't have given that free kick against us right in front of goals and this one and that one, we would have won by more. And I'm like, it's so unimportant and we won. Like, if we'd lost by 3 points and there was a controversial decision, you might be discussing it. But honestly, it might have changed the margin. It might not. Blah, 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 Who cares? Who even cares? And I go, so really just what gets my goat is when I am stupid enough to read the comments on anything. Because
never read the comments.
Because the people who comment on things, and hello to everyone who's commented so far on our things, are generally right. No, sorry, I don't mean that, but I'm just like, you see something, and then I sort of find myself really wanting to go, you nothing, you idiot, I don't. But let's face it, that's how they pass their time. So just people be happy with things, I guess, to some degree, and put a few more things in context. And also recognise that you having your comment about we should have got an extra goal because of this, or so-and-so didn't play that well, not going to change the world. So, go and do something. What about you, Shinno? What's getting your go?
Before I get to that, I've just highlighted a bit of an issue that we're probably not going to have too many people commenting on social media, because we have our top fans sitting with us tonight who actually probably
I can jump on if you want.
93% of our comments.
Well, and we just had someone say, I just came here for the comments. So, greetings, Stu. How are you, mate? And greetings, Brian. But yes, our top fan won't be commenting tonight. Well, he probably could be multitasking. We know he's a bit of an IT whiz.
Yes.
And I just noticed
either that or he's playing Angry Birds.
Sam's a top fan as well, Shinno. Did you notice that?
Yes, Sam is, yes.
Fan. So,
I don't know how she did it. She doesn't know how she did it either. So.
Getting some rivalry here.
Is she in some sort of relationship with somebody on the show?
Well, quite possibly.
Quite possibly, yes. So,
but I'll get on them. So what gets my goat is probably along the lines of people being inconsiderate yet again, but people holding private conversations in public places. you know, for everybody to hear, which is
on their
totally,
phones or just in general? But
just in general, or on their phones, but just blatantly unawares, you know, of who might be listening, nor do they possibly care. I don't know, but it can be a little bit unsettling at times.
are you more or less inclined to listen?
Sorry?
Are you more or less inclined to listen? So if you feel there might be some juicy tea to be spilled, are you like, well, I'm just going to settle in here. Another coffee, please.
Yeah, look, I get really annoyed because I should be doing something else, but I'm so enthralled by their life now, and I feel like I'm a part of their life that I can't leave until the conversation's finished.
You need a
I find myself following them down the mall just to listen to the rest of the conversation and going exactly in the opposite direction that I shouldn't be.
Well, we need a resolution. We need a resolution.
What about very private conversations that people have on their phone while on a train, and you can see that everyone in the entire train car is listening in?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
Well, that's the whole. I don't know. I just on another note, this is probably slightly gross, but people who assume that because they have their headphones in, nobody can hear them farting.
Yes.
They've got their headphones in. Wait, they've got their own headphones in.
And I've heard it. And you go, mate, you might not have heard it, but I'm sure you knew it. And we all heard it because we weren't wearing it.
Wait, they're supposed to be noise-cancelling headphones, right?
Yes, noise cancelling.
But perhaps if you're wearing them on your ass.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, let's digress.
So that's what gets our goat. So,
well, the next one we got, Bish, you're going to ask the next one.
Well, are we on to conspiracy theories, or are we going?
No, I think it's hobbies.
Hobbies, of course. Sorry, I've decided not to look at the running sheet tonight. Here I go.
Don't know why.
So, look, we have a bit of a motto about here: a man or a woman's got to have a hobby. So, please tell us of a hobby you have, or if not, a hobby you would like to have, if you had the time, money, inclination. Ability. Yes, it could be.
Hey, you don't need to have an ability to have a hobby.
True. No. That's very true.
Yeah, well, exactly that. You don't need to have a hobby. You don't need to be good at it.
Is surfing a hobby? I've always wanted to surf. I really would love to learn.
No, it's an activity, and therefore it's a hobby. I think it's.
So your future destined hobby is surfing.
Yeah, it's been like that for a while, but I still never have even tried it. I don't have hobbies though. So running. It was running and travelling. Can't travel that much, but now we're travelling within WA.
Yep.
But yeah, trail running otherwise.
Yeah, mine's running and travelling.
Running and travelling. And now...
All of our travelling involves running. All of our running involves travelling. And just in general. But I think that was no big surprise for anyone.
No,
fantastic. I'm keen on the surfing adventure, Kat. So Sim's now got an idea for the next birthday gift or whatever else.
Buy you a surfboard.
Surfboard, which reminds me, but Shinno, you would know that if you buy a surfboard, the last place you want to leave it is out the back in the shed where no one will ride it.
Yes, correct.
I'm referring to?
Yes, weddings party.
Whoa, I've got the rain in my heart.
I'm all over it. Yeah.
No.
No, it's a widow. There is a verse, and out the back in the shed, there's a surfboard that no one will ride, but we will not sell. But
that's quite enough of you
out there.
attempting to sing. But
Kat, look, I thought just making fun of Shinno.
No. Shinno's well aware of the lyric. That's all.
Yes.
I'm usually pretty good at songs, but no, I've not heard that one.
So, Kat, I don't have a surfboard, but I do have a spare ironing board. You're welcome to have.
Kind of like a surfboard.
And you can practice on that in the living room, and there's no risk to your health or well-being.
I remember playing on an ironing board as a kid. I have a memory of playing on an ironing board as a kid and sort of pretending it as a surfboard, and would do that until I think I eventually got a bit too big for it, and then it collapsed under me. So I don't know how big I was actually to be able to stand up on an old ironing board, but I guess
you actually had the ironing board up.
Yeah, the proper. I was actually
Oh, okay.
able to lie on top of it and paddle.
Less.
So Sim, you're a bit like a big wave ironing board surfer.
Yeah.
Right.
A nice pink frilly cover on it as well.
I have to say, Sim, and this was probably less cute and a little more ridiculous, although it was when I was a lot younger. I did see a guy attempt that at a party at our house in Carnarvon in 1989, and I believe there might have been a lot of the Bush Chook consumed that as well. And the ironing board was never the same, I'll have to say. Fortunately, he survived without any injuries. I can't remember who that was. Anyway, Shorty, maybe. I'll say Shorty because at that stage of our life, everyone had a friend whose nickname was Shorty. So,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so that's easy. Everyone knew a Shorty. So that's hobbies. Shinno, do you want to ask the next one?
I'm thinking, shall we have a bit of an interval so you can fill up your glass? Or how are we going, by the way?
I've opened.
Kat's struggling. I'm actually nearly finished.
Sorry, and who poured that? And how long ago?
Like
Because
5 minutes before the show started.
There's zero head on it at all.
No, there was no head when it went into the cup.
And you know what? I had serious doubts whether Kat's actually drinking it. That actually looks like a glass of cider.
Yeah, she did bring. Well, we both bought along the beers in case we couldn't stomach the.
Please.
I did have a backup.
So you'd like this one? It's the chocolate porter that I offered to you a few years ago.
Yes.
Which I may open up soon.
I think your problem there, Kat, is you're not quite committing to it. So, but perhaps what we could do while we're discussing this, and Shinno, you might want to start the batting. You've mentioned how there's a bit of a family history for you, but this is probably a little bit more of a drinking history for us because we are slightly older than the two of you. Shinno, do you want to tell us about some of your first experiences with emu export?
Oh, yes. Well, my mum and dad aren't listening, I'm quite sure. So I would have been a young fella, probably around the ages of 14, 15 years old. That probably would have been year 9 or year 10 at a school party, I'd imagine, Bish.
Yes.
But we used to make moonshine out of all manner of alcohol, including Bush Chook. And we would add absolutely anything to it that we could find. So I could not recall any particular recipes. All I recall is never feeling good in the morning.
No, I agree. I can tell you my dad was, I don't know about your dad, but my dad was a beer drinker. And so the thing would be as a kid to get alongside him at a party and say, Dad, could I have a sip of your beer? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you'd go for as much as you could get.
Yes.
Right? You know, like, it probably would not seem like a mouthful now or whatever. And you would drink as much as you could, like I say, get in. And it tasted bloody horrible. But that wasn't going to stop you, right? That was like,
no. That was a challenge.
It was like, yep, and so I could not stand it, but that never stopped me drinking it. And certainly when I left school and had money to go out and drink, it was all anyone drank. It was basically exporting cans and Swan Draft at the pub on tap, although I think you could get export on tap. And it was always the same. Those two beers, Swan and Export. And, I remember drinking buckets of it and it never got any better taste-wise. So, but that's fine.
What about you, Simon and Kat? Did you guys have any experiences with it? Or, I think in your earlier days, if you went to uni or whatnot, I don't know what they were serving at the bar. Probably wasn't this.
No, I didn't go to uni, but I'm just thinking early days, like the first memory of drinking beer is my mum used to make like beer battered fish and chips, and there's always be some beer left over, which I could drink. But I don't remember if I enjoyed it or not. And I remember it was always like a VB or an EB or something. But then, I suppose I didn't start drinking until much later on in life, as far as like not 13, 14, maybe 15, 16 or so.
Oh,
It was never a beer. It was
You're a
always-
late bloomer.
late bloomer.
Or you could never, wouldn't drink beer because you couldn't get the volume out of it. And it was much easier to get like a bottle of Jim Beam or something. And then that down at the park when I was about 15 or 16, which was just absolutely disgusting. But of course, you're just drinking for the sake of it at that age.
And what about you, Kat? You would have been on the Steinlager, perhaps?
No, what was my first? I was Crown Lagers.
Really?
Right.
Oh, bloody da.
Classy.
Yeah, look at this.
It actually
Bloody
was
money
back then.
So everyone looked at me.
That was probably the beer that was almost the conduit between the working man's beer and the newly developed craft beers, wasn't it? Was the Crown Lager.
I reckon it was the first beer to be a bit of a status symbol. So we used to joke amongst our mates that if you were a bit flush, as in, you'd had a good pay, or maybe you'd got your bonus or whatever else, you would.
If it was grand final day.
A grand final day or whatever, just going on holidays, you got your little bit of extra leave loading in your pay or what have you. You would get the Crownies versus whatever was on special. So you were just showing people that you were,
Now, is it true that Crown Lager is just Foster's but rebranded for this?
Well, I had
This is potentially a conspiracy theory.
Well, I can tell you that I had a neighbour who used to tell me it was Carlton Draft in a fancy bottle, and I would have to tell you, if you gave me the choice now between Carlton Draft and Crown, I'd take the Carlton Draft every day of the week. I reckon it's
like when you go to a wedding and they've got the premium beer, and the premium beer is the Crown Lager, and I'm like, yeah, that's still not a premium beer.
I think it was, but I do think, yeah.
No, but I mean like recently.
Yeah, recently. Well, you basically can pick the age of the person who did the catering, or who paid for the beer, basically, because if we're not having Crownies, it's not good enough. But yeah, I could tell a million stories about drinking beer.
I did convert my dad, so he was always a Tui's Extra Dry.
The old Teds.
Oh, the old Teds, yes.
Yep. But he's now a craft beer drinker, and quite often
Wow.
the little different beers in the fridge.
The Teds were one of the sweetest beers I've ever remembered
drinking. Very easy to drink. Very easy to drink. Like a Corona, like a breakfast beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Did you say breakfast beer?
I did say breakfast beer. And bye.
Anyway, shall we move on? Because I think this is the time of the show. We've had a bit of a theme in most of our shows over the last few weeks. And one of the reasons we thought we'd love to have Sim and Kat on is obviously Sim goes by the little tag of Sim. You can explain that a little bit further, your Instagram tag and whatnot, what that means. Obviously, a lot of the people in the running community highly respect you, not only for being a marvellous runner and way faster than the majority of us, but tell us a little bit about the vision impairment that you were diagnosed with many, many years ago, and how that sort of impacts you on a day-to-day basis. We'd love to hear a bit about that.
Yeah, on Instagram, the Sim the Blind Running Guy, and that all started when I just needed to come up with a new Instagram handle, and I'm like, well, it's got to encompass my vision impairment and my running, so how am I going to do that?
I actually thought, but before I knew you all that well, and I knew that you posted a lot about drinking beer, and I thought you were drinking that much beer, obviously you were referring to the fact that you're always blind.
Yeah, always blind and out running, getting shit-faced and running. Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
But yeah, so big on the social media with the running and all of that, and just my vision impairment as well. So basically with my vision impairment, it's a juvenile form of macular degeneration that I've got called Stargardt's disorder. And I was diagnosed when I was back about 17, so 15, 16 more years ago.
Yeah.
Basically it's a degenerative disorder which slowly affects the macula of your eye, and you slowly lose your central vision over time. So by the time I was about 22, 23, I'd lost all of my central vision. So being legally blind just means that you've lost over 98% of your central vision. which is just that center bit that you focus on. But I can still see all of my peripheral vision just fine, which is why I'm still able to run and get around okay.
Right.
I think I just don't recognize people's faces as much or can see things at a distance, but sort of recognize people's voices and know my surroundings pretty well, so I can get around by myself okay, which is why a lot of people either don't believe me or they don't think that I've got a vision impairment or anything until they see me on my phone, holding my phone really close, or they sort of wonder why I can't see something, or they say, oh, hey, what does that say over there? And I'm like, you're asking me? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad you provided a bit of clarity around that, because it's not something I was certainly aware of. And, you know, I think when it comes to people having a little bit of awareness around all these things, it's not as simple as everyone being tarnished with the same brush as being vision impaired, is it? Everybody has it to different degrees and has, I suppose, different challenges and different restrictions to their vision. So,
yeah, everyone's very different, and having a vision impairment, I mean, it's such a wide range. And you say to some people, it's like, oh yeah, I can't see anything when I take off my glasses. I'm like, yeah, but my vision's kind of the same even when I wear my glasses. They only correct my vision just a little bit, just enough to sort of get by. But everyone is very different, and saying you're sort of legally blind or vision impaired, and people don't quite understand that, and people want to try and help you and stuff, and which can be a bit annoying sometimes. Like sometimes I need help, but when you're offering help and I don't need it, I mean, it can get a bit frustrating, which is what Kat found a bit frustrating early days of our relationship when she first found out about my vision impairment, and for the first few years and stuff, being all worried, like making sure I was going to see that car or see that hole in the ground, and arguments when we were walking around Nepal in I think 2013.
Nepal was scary.
Nepal was a pretty even for a sighted person, because there's like holes in the ground, there's power lines hanging down around at head height. It's pretty dangerous. I'm just getting frustrated because Kat's like, watch out, watch out, watch out. And something that Kat sort of...
That would have really tested the relationship, I can imagine.
Yeah. And like how Kat can actually sort of learn to deal with me and to, well, not deal with me, but
That's right.
understand me and how to best support me.
I've always found the term legally blind fascinating, because it gave me the impression that there was a bunch of people running around blind without the protection of the law.
Illegally blind.
Illegally blind, you know, you're going, well, yeah, no, you don't cut it. We're going to round you up. So, but yeah, so it's a fascinating term, I guess, from that point of view. So,
So, any other sort of challenges or anything, Simon? That just sort of basically, what's the general perception you find? As I said, I can absolutely understand to some extent the frustration you'd find, because you almost feel like you've almost got to explain yourself to every person you come across, and I can imagine that would take a fair bit of energy.
You get over it after a while. I mean, it's been quite a long time and having to say it. So just even today down at the shops, asking people like trying to buy something in a shop, and they're like, oh, just it's here and here. And I'm like, oh, you show me, I've got very bad eyesight. I need you to explain. I need you to read it out, and that. It's just on autopilot now when you have to explain it over. And I mean, yeah, it might have been frustrating for the first few years, but I mean, I've been this for, my vision's been this bad for 10 or 15 years more now. So like you get it after a while.
And will it continue to deteriorate, or have you hit a point where that's about it, or what will happen there?
No, it's slowly getting worse over time. It sort of gets worse and then plateaus, gets worse, then plateaus. But it's only my central vision, it's just all of the stuff you focus on, so I can see everything around me okay. So I'll never be like completely black and bumping into things and stuff, just have to go a bit slower.
Yeah.
And probably why I don't do as much sort of road biking and cycling and stuff. Running's okay when you're only doing sort of 10 kilometers per hour, but when you're on a road bike doing 30 or 40, it's up on you a bit quicker, and you can't actually do that. So
the reaction times.
Haven't driven for a long time on the roads, but full driving is a bit of fun as well. But that's because things come up on you a bit slower, except puddles. But when people are directing you to go right through the middle of puddles, then
this might be a story in that, is there?
Yeah, when we were down south a few weeks ago, was with one of your previous guests on the show, Sean.
Morning. Yeah.
Like, wanting to go full driving and just taking it easy on these tracks and that, and he encouraged me to have a go. And like, I can still see everything that's coming at me, but I eventually actually did get his car stuck in a decent sized puddle.
But he had it coming, didn't he?
He had it coming, but I did make it through 2 other puddles successfully, and then got stuck on the 3rd puddle, and then cars got stuck in the 2 puddles that I had made it through behind.
Well,
Right.
yes.
Wow, that's all right.
He's not telling the whole story that he did the
Go on.
kangaroo
Oh, no.
carcass.
Yes, there was a very dead.
Straight over.
There was a very dead kangaroo
Already
earlier
dead.
on in the trail that I'd run over, and the Land Cruiser that went through behind me got a nice spray up the side of their car.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was very dead. There was no whatsoever.
And I was back, very happy for him, but also slightly scared. But yeah, it's white with green at the sides, so you can pretty much tell through the colours like where we're going. But I was still a bit nervous.
So it sounds like we need to get you on for another episode, Kat, just to talk about your anxiety levels.
Right, driving.
Someone falling in holes.
They're going to hit my cars and power lines and roll all drive.
Oh, dear. Anyway, moving right along, the other thing you guys are heavily involved with is Perth Urban Runners. Tell us about this. So when did that all kick off? Everyone's come down for a run or two with you guys over the years, and when did that start? How did it start, and when do you guys catch up?
Yeah, one of our friends, Peter, started Perth Urban Runners about 4 years ago or so, but with his other work commitments and stuff, I've been helping out with that a lot more, because I think I went to pretty much all of the runs I think I went to the 2nd one when it first started back in 2015, 2016 or so, just being a big part of that. And it's just a free twice weekly, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m, different locations sort of around the city and north of the river and that. And it's just a good chance to, I suppose, people to come together and go for a run, because that's the struggle that a lot of people have, is to actually just get out the door and go for a run by yourself, and just having that commitment twice a week to go along and meet people, have a bit of a chat, go for a run, and then maybe grab a beer afterwards is always a good thing. Except on Tuesdays, of course, when you need to take off from the run early so you can make your show.
Yes.
A lot of people run on a Tuesday night, and when we chose this, it was great, because now I don't have to run on Tuesday night.
My theory is these people are choosing to run on a Tuesday night to avoid watching our show.
That's quite possible. Although I do know Coach Tony comes home from runs, and
yes, he always
it's a way to bring his heart rate down, I think, just to.
He's talking about his heart rate's always like just slowly cruising along. He can do his
I know. Well, this is how he just gets off to sleep, isn't it? It's got to.
Well, yeah. I mean, he'll probably come back from running another marathon shortly. Sub 4 minute pace marathon, and he'll be sitting down watching this very soon. So
just a cool down marathon.
I have to laugh a lot because, again, another friend who does often watch you. So I watched your show on a little bit on Tuesday night and the rest on Wednesday morning. And I go, well, why didn't you just watch it all at once? And he goes, I fell asleep. So every single time, and I'm like, yeah, you're not. You're not telling.
Maybe you've just got very soothing, sultry voices.
That is absolutely
roll people into a nice.
Perhaps I should tell recordings of me reading the phone book for people to go to sleep to. Tony's here. Tony is in the house.
Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Clearly, he's run the big K's at top pace, and now he's settling down to join us. Welcome, Tony. So
I've been known to miss a few of the Perths, but make it for the beer at the end.
I
don't make the run, but I still go for the beer at the end.
That's a pro move. The other thing is just doing like a really short version of the run, so you still come in your gear. And you've got a bit of a sweat up, but
That may have been an incident a couple of weeks ago where
just turn around and run a K round the corner and come back and get just in time. Perfect.
Kat did a 2K walk with the dogs at Perth Urban Runners, and then proceeded to drink some champagne in the park with one of her friends.
Perfect.
Oh.
That's absolute pro move. I applaud that. That's
Yeah, because you're in your running gear, you're active, and then you got.
you've done the job. You've done
Yeah.
It was actually a walking picnic.
A walking progressive picnic.
A mobile picnic.
A mobile picnic. Well, that's it.
Right.
You
I
can't
like that
let the
concept.
grass grow under your feet. Should we? I don't know if anyone's got one for this week, but are we going to do Wanker of the Week, or are we going to leave that for next week?
Yeah, well, unless I don't have one organised.
I've got a half of one, but he kind of fits in with my conspiracy theory, so I'll throw it in there. I did just want to mention the little bit of the reverse Wanker of the Week, that an absolute hero of the week, and possibly people saw it, but Ben Harris, who already a top
Yeah, that was great.
who, while out on his run, spotted somebody getting mugged for a mobile phone, run down the perpetrators, rounded them up, and recorded it all on his Garmin too. I've got to say,
And they had a 500-metre head start on him as well.
Yeah, I know. Like, reeled him in, got hold of the phones, cops arrived. Super effort from Ben, and we already knew he was a good guy, but that's just next level stuff. So I wanted to mention that. So no Wanker of the Week this week. We'll go a Bish and the Beard's Hero of the Week.
Hero of the Week. Okay, I like that.
I think Ben will be happy that you called him, what is it, a reverse wanker? An opposite?
Reverse wanker.
He'll appreciate that title.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that just involves a different technique. But anyway, let's move on.
Whatever the opposite is. Great.
So Sim and Kat, do you guys have any conspiracy theories you'd like to share with us?
Kat was talking about one before, which she wouldn't share with me until the show, so I'm keen to hear what that one was.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know if it's really like conspiracy theory, other than something that I believe in.
It's not a conspiracy if it's true.
Let us be the judge. We will judge this. So go on. I'm not going to say.
All you need to do, Kat, is get it out, and then we will manipulate it.
We'll let you know where we think we're at here. Come on.
So it's more about how much I trust in dogs and think that they have these other senses. So I really think that there's now I'll sound all woo-woo like, but that there's this energy in the world, right? We don't know much about it. And I think that dogs are much more tapped into this energy. You know, when they pick up on senses about if like, people are feeling bad or harm, and they can sense it. And I just think there's more to the world that we know, because we can't see it, you know, touch it. But and there's an element. And I wonder how far it goes beyond. So this is where it's even more like, not only can they sense it, I do wonder sometimes if they almost have this little bit of ability to see into the future somewhat, because it's like they know what's going to happen before it happens. And there's been like different stories of that, or you're going to take them somewhere, like how they know, even if you haven't picked up anything yet. And I just wonder whether there's this chain of energy that somehow dogs are all linked into.
Can I ask if Phoenix John Douglas is in the room?
He's locked out.
He's out.
I can let him in.
He's out the door.
Does he know he's coming in yet?
Oh, be a surprise.
He's probably sitting right there, just staring.
Yeah, he's waiting.
So, Kat, do you think a lot of your thoughts around this are based off what you sort of see and sense from Phoenix John Douglas?
He's pretty switched on. Hello.
There he is, eh?
Right.
Oh wait,
Wonderful.
a recent addition to his wardrobe. You see his little bow tie?
Oh, look at that. Yes, dressed up.
I did not buy this bow tie, nor did I endorse this bow tie.
Can we ask him some lotto numbers?
Now, Phoenix, can you read their energy? Are they good or are they bad?
He's yawning. He's yawning.
What he's saying there is these people are boring.
He's quite clearly got got other things to do with his time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we woke him up for his nap to bring him in here. He's like,
Yeah, you've taken him away from the 23 hours and 45 minutes of sleeping that he would otherwise be doing.
Yes, exactly.
busy day. It's like all planned out.
I know. No. Oh, there he is.
Getting you on again.
Yeah. All right.
What about you, Bish? Did you have one?
I've got one. And,
Okay.
For the first time in my life, I've got one that I think I could believe in. And it's the first time I've ever really come up with it on my own. So a bit of a local flavour. Perth media personality Basil Zemplis has announced that he is running for Lord Mayor.
Saw that.
Now, his ultimate employer is one of Perth's, WA's, even in Australia's richest men, Kerry Stokes. So my little conspiracy theory is that not only did Basil perhaps seek endorsement from Kerry, or permission even, because obviously this might cause some sort of conflict of interest with his work, but I think perhaps he was put up to it by Kerry, and that he's going to be installed as Kerry's man at City Hall to run the show on his behalf.
Right.
So that's my little conspiracy theory.
Okay.
A bit of a local flavour.
I've got a story about Basil Zemplis, and I don't like him.
I don't know. But come on, let's have it.
Let's hear it.
I was in line at the old Leederville Hotel
Yes.
Sunday afternoon, probably, 12, 15 years ago. And I was in line, and he rudely pushed past me, shoved me, and then walked in past security because he apparently knew people. And I just didn't like that.
No, fair enough.
And I knew it was him. I knew
He was a
him.
bit of an upstart.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he would have a touch of the "don't you know who I am"? There's a lot of people who work on television in Perth do, because it is such a small place, I would guess. But anyway, that's my theory. I think, and aside from all that, I mean, what would he know about running the city? You know, just because he's a talking head on telly.
He could do a better job than the previous Lord Mayor that's had a lot of troubles going on.
I don't disagree with that she did a pretty terrible job, or well, not so much did a bad job, just didn't do things as should have been done from the record keeping point of view. But yeah, no, I have a theory that maybe he's being anointed by the powers that be.
So now it's out there in the world. Are you going to get like a knock on the door very late tonight?
No doubt. If I'm still alive this time next week, it'll be a miracle. But like I say, it's a theory. I'm sure they've got their listeners out now, and yeah, there'll be some sort of approach to shut up, or someone will meet me in a car park and hand me an envelope with some clues to this theory in it and say something like "follow the money" or some other such thing.
Somebody in a trench coat saying you're on the right track. Unravel the sweater. Follow
you keep pulling at that thread. That's how you know you found a genuine conspiracy theory. Somebody will meet you in a car park in the darkest corner and give you a cryptic clue to keep going. So I'll be expecting that in the next week or so, and I'll report back to you all then as to how it happens. But that's my new conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And got obviously a local flavour. Sim, have you got any, mate?
Not really conspiracy theories. I'd like all of the oldies and the goodies, but the flat Earth one always is good. Renton and I, when we did the pacing, the 4-hour pacing for the City to Surf and then the Perths Running Festival, I announced all of the different theories that I'd be going through, or not theories, because I'd talk about, like, if they're not theories, they're true. So the flat Earth and the vaccination and the chemtrails, all the fun ones. And I did have a look at that picture that you posted with the whole COVID thing. And
all the different ones. That was
I
insane.
had a look at it for about 20 minutes. It is really hard to follow, but somebody spent a lot of time putting that together.
But it made about as much sense as a lot of these theories did. But it was, insane. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, shall we get on and rate our beers? So how are you guys finding this? I've got to say that
I'm waiting to see Kat's glass here.
I've still got half left.
I think the biggest challenge here.
That pot plant behind her, though, have you been tipping it into the pot plant?
She's reluctantly finished. She has cracked her backup beer already, so I think.
Well, I think before we get to rating our beers, I think it's important to acknowledge, as we prefaced earlier, that we need to try and take an unbiased approach, largely because of, I suppose, the sometimes negative connotations, I suppose, which you can tie back to a brand such as Emu Export. But I think by and large, this is me personally, I think there's a place for a beer like this in the market, if only for the fact that it lets us know where we've been, what our proud heritage is, and how far we've come with beer today. So without benchmarks such as this beer here, we'll be sort of floundering around the craft beer market and nothing to draw back on. So,
do you think it doesn't help that lagers, by and large, have been a little bit out of fashion? Like, just about for a long while, everything's been about ale.
Yeah, look, I think we all know it's cyclical, a bit like the wine market, where Chardonnay will come in and out of flavour. I think we'll find the same with beers, and I think, like most trends in any given market, you get to a point where, and I'll use the craft beer market as an example, is that it'll escalate at such a rate for a period of time, but there will be a tipping point where people will come back to heritage brands such as this. And it will almost be deemed to be cool. You'll see a lot of the hipsters, mark my words, in the coming years.
That's what I was thinking. It's the chic thing, the shabby chic. And
that is already happening. If, as I mentioned, went to a 21st recently. That's where these cans came from. The young blokes are drinking it, 18, 19-year-olds, after footy, etc. So
my tip to you, I mean, this King Brown, this cost me $8. That's a bloody bargain.
I paid $7 for mine.
Well, did you? Where'd you go?
I don't know, Harry Brown's liquor down the road from me.
A block of cans is under $50 if you get it on special. Now, that's 30 cans for under $50. So if you could bring yourself to drink it.
My tip to you, based off what the advice we just shared about the tipping of the scale and people coming back in favour of the Emu Export, is to get on the cans now. Go and stock up, store them in the back room. You'll thank yourself later.
Future investment.
Can I tell you a little joke that I often tell at my father's expense? How do you know what's on special at Liquorland?
What?
What's in Alan's fridge? Because he only ever buys. Yeah. Anyway.
Let's get a rating out of 5.
Let's have a rating, guys. What do you reckon?
What is Adam?
5.
Oh,
Phoenix is knocking over stuff around here. I think just because I finished my run about 20 minutes before the show started, it was quite refreshing. So I'd give it, and it wasn't the worst beer that I've tasted in the last few months, because it does buy some very weird ones just for the sake of it, like some weird ghost beers and all over the place. But like a 2.75.
2.75 for Sim. Let me write this down.
I would have given it a 3, and it's a bit better than 2.5.
Now you'll also need to, I mean, usually we get everyone to send me through a picture of the beer they're drinking, but the pure fact we're all drinking the same beer. But mind you, we're drinking it out of different vessels, aren't we? So maybe.
No, I think the photo's a bit redundant this week. We'll just.
Yeah. So 2.7. And Kat, what about yourself?
A lot of thought.
Good, 2.
A 2 to Cat. Okay. Bish?
I'm going to go around 3. I will tell you this, right? This is, it is factually less alcoholic than when we were young men. It used to be 5%. I think it's now 4.2. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it has come down from being a, what was
4.2%. And as we mentioned before, I don't know if you saw this, SimKat, it's actually 99% sugar-free.
Yeah, I can feel the pounds just melting away when I'm drinking.
So it's virtually a light beer.
This could really be a substantial part of anybody's diet.
But I think it's a little sweeter than it was when I was young. I didn't find it too offensive. And as a lager, I think it's a fair example. So I'll go a 3. Will you start seeing it stocked in the Bishop fridge? No, you will not. But if I was offered a can at somebody's house, I certainly wouldn't offend them by leaving immediately. I'd drink it and enjoy it. So I'll go with 3. I think that's
okay. Well, funny enough, I was going a 3 also.
Beautiful. So I think that's about where it sits. Next week we're doing Swan Lager. No, we're not. Next week we can go back to the craft beers. So fantastic. Has anyone got anything else they want to add?
Any more conspiracy theories? I'm disappointed. I might need to open this after the show and I can let you know how it goes.
Yes, please do.
Oh, the Crown. Yeah. If anyone else is drinking export tonight along with us, post a picture of you drinking export, or send us your rating of export. We'd like to get a bigger rating. So, but if that's about us done, I'm going to say good night to everyone, and well, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Perfect.
For coming on.
Thanks,
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
And the live video is ended. So wait a sec, we're still on the thing. So